So in photography and the arts in general, I feel like there is a lot of good information online, but there's also a lot of bad and misleading information. So today I kind of want to talk about 3 misleading tips I see the most in the online space and what to do instead. Now keep in mind this is kind of based on my opinion and my experiences with what has worked for me in growing in photography and what has not worked for me. If any of these tips are things you practice on the regular and they're helping you grow, then keep doing them. You know, it's all about getting better and improving in the art and not necessarily right or wrong. These are just things that I've noticed that have kind of limited my own personal growth in photography. So let's go ahead and get started. The first misleading tip I see often is to not copy others and to be original. And the reason why I feel like this is so misleading is that there is so much opportunity and so much to learn from copying others. I feel like a lot of the reason why people get into photography in the first place is by seeing a photo that kind of inspires them. And so we all have kind of photographers we look up to in the sense of style, photographers that we like and enjoy their pictures and stuff like that. And to kind of block that off and not learn from those opportunities is a mistake in my opinion. I think there's so much to learn from copying someone else's style that you can kind of bring into your own style and implement into something that differentiates you. But at the same time, I understand why people are saying it, right? They're kind of encouraging you to be different, right? They're kind of encouraging you to be original and do something that distinguishes you instead of just copying someone, which I understand is important as well as an artist, is to be different. And copying doesn't necessarily have to mean like image for image, doing the exact same thing, but it's more of like a photo study. What you're doing is you're taking essential components of the composition, the lighting, the color, the techniques other photographers have employed, and you're bringing that into your own artwork. And I think what people don't realize is that their art and their photography actually ends up becoming kind of a combination of a lot of other artists. It becomes a combination of multiple artists that we have taken inspiration from, and that's how we kind of develop our own sense of style. So it's going to be original in that aspect anyways. But the whole kind of be original thing, I think, is kind of an impossible feat, because in today's modern day and modern age, everything is basically a rendition of something else. There's nothing quite completely fully original in photography. Everyone draws something from someone else, and that is just part of the whole art, part of building on the past and what other people have done in the past. And that is inevitably what I think is true originality. It is taking something that someone has built on from the generation before us and then expanding on that, you know, being unique and creative within those confines. That's what I would recommend to do instead, is that I would take from all the sources of inspiration that you have, take from all the photographers whose photos you like, and bring that into your own style. Don't think of it as copying someone else. Think of it as learning from them, and thinking of it as melding it into your own personal sense of what you like about this versus what you don't like about this. Another misleading tip I hear often in the realm of photography is to shoot every day. And I've tried this many times in the past. I would take my camera out and I would go to different places each day and I would shoot as many pictures as I could. But I feel like this was misleading in the sense because I wasn't being 100% efficient with my time or 100% efficient with the photos I was taking. I would notice that across the days as I was sorting through the photos and editing the photos that I was doing a lot of the same stuff. I was taking a lot of the same pictures, just in a different location, and there wasn't anything unique or different that I was trying. So what I would recommend is not necessarily to stop shooting every day, but to go out and shoot with intent. So each day, try something different, try something new. Maybe one day you want to shoot with a 23mm. The next day you can go out and try and shoot with 35mm. One day you might want to practice your colors, trying to look for colors, compose colors in a unique and different way. And another day you can pay attention to lighting with black and white photos and things like that. So it's not necessarily quantity, but it's about quality of work and quality of time, because admittedly, not all of us have the time to go out and shoot every day. Most of us are hobbyists or amateurs, and we want to improve in photography, but we have a life as well, you know what I mean? We have a family to take care of, we have friends to spend time with and things like that, and we can't dedicate and devote our entire life to photography. So it's more about being efficient with the time you actually get to go out and take photos, rather than just going out and taking photos mindlessly, all willy-nilly. So that is what I would recommend. I would have a specific intent or aspect of the skill to focus on and work on when you are going out to take photos, and you don't necessarily have to take photos every single day. Another thing I've noticed when I started implementing this into my own photography workflow was that I was getting better at photography because I was giving space in between my photo sessions to edit my photos and to think about my photos and to cull my photos. And this is something extremely, extremely important because photography is just as much about taking the photos as it is about editing the photos and it is about printing the photos. And when you are editing your photos in between your photo sessions, you are giving yourself time to reflect and review what you did during that photo session and to think about what worked and what didn't work about your photography. And this is an aspect of photography I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and it's so important. Think about it like as when you were in school, when your teachers were telling you to peer review your essays or to write multiple drafts or things like that. We never cared or we never listened to it because we just wanted to get the essay done. But it's extremely important to get a better essay out, is to actually review, to think about what you did wrong, to rewrite your essay. And that's the same thing in photography. You got to think about, okay, I like this picture. Why did I like this picture? Okay, I didn't like this picture and there's a reason why, right? So next time I'm not going to take that picture in the first place because I know I'm not going to like it. And that's how you end up with a better batch of photos rather than like 1,000 photos that are trash. You know what I mean? So spacing days out between your photo sessions are actually really, really good because it gives you time to reflect, to think about what you're going to be doing next the time you go out and take photos. So that is what I do instead. Instead of shooting every day, I would 1, go out and shoot with intent, and 2, give your space time to edit and reflect on the photos so that the next time you go, you are making more efficient use of your time. The next thing I want to talk about is experimentation. And this kind of is less applied to specifically about photography and more about the art space in general, or just career, discipline, and profession wise. I think a lot of times society has told us as people to kind of specialize, to think about what we are good at and then just to focus solely on that aspect of that field instead of being more well-rounded, trying a bunch of different things and experimenting. And I think this has pushed our society into a space of people who are good at one thing, but people who have stopped learning in an aspect. Let me explain. So I think experimentation and being well-rounded is extremely, extremely important, especially when it comes to the arts. And the reason being is that learning is a never-ending process, right? When we are learning one discipline, we can get really good at it if we're focusing a lot of our time towards that. But that's not to say that we can't learn from other disciplines as well, right? Because what actually happens is that you kind of get tunnel vision when you are specializing. You're focused on just photography when someone else with a different perspective, because they're in a different field, could give you a lot of feedback to apply into your photography that you would have never thought of before. So this is why I think having multiple hobbies and experimenting between multiple disciplines is extremely important, because then you can get a sense of, okay, well, from this point of view, I like to do this and this and this. What if I took that and pulled that and used that into my photography? Well, that makes for a much more interesting photo now, right? Similarly, it could be inside the realm of photography as well. Maybe say you love the 23mm, because in my personal experience, I love the 35 equivalent. I've talked about this before, and even like a year ago, I was talking about how if I had to sell all my cameras, I would just stick to the X100V because it does everything for me. And I still stand by that. I still love the camera, but I've learned a lot from experimenting and trying other focal lengths. For example, you would have to shoot a 35mm or 50 equivalent different than how you would a 23mm or 35 equivalent. And doing so, you're learning a lot of things about framing and composition that you would have never done shooting just 23mm. So you can take what you've learned from 35mm and then pull it and put it back into your 23mm, and then you can create a much more interesting photo, much more interesting composition, and you can experiment and try different things. So I think there is a common misconception when it feels like we can't apply things from different disciplines into our main discipline. But that is completely wrong, because you can have photography as your priority and you can have it as your main sort of discipline, but learning things from things like sports or other arts like drawing and stuff like that, taking that and applying that into your own photography will make you better. And that is something that needs to be spread more, because it feels like society is telling us that we are wasting our time if we are spreading ourselves out. You know, it's like that whole spreading ourselves thin thing. There's a common misconception with that, because you can learn from doing a lot of things, and learning is a skill as well. So the more you learn and the more things you try, you actually get better at learning, because you are breaking down rudimentary forms of a discipline or a skill and applying it into the best way that you can learn as well. So it's not a waste of time. You are learning faster with each discipline you learn, and then you are taking skills that apply from those things and putting it into your own perspective. So that's something I would recommend as well, is to experiment with different disciplines, experiment with different things in photography, because there is so much more you can learn and bring back from that, and it's not a waste of time. So anyways, those are the general 3 misleading kind of tips I hear often in the online space, not just for photography, but for other things as well. Hopefully this helped you guys, it made sense to you guys, and you can apply it to your own work. Again, this is my personal opinion and things that have helped me in my own experience. If you try this out and it doesn't work for you, you don't have to do it. You know what I mean? I think everyone works and operates on a slightly different basis. It's important to go with what you feel like helps you and helps you improve the most. And that's pretty much all I can say. So anyways, hopefully if you like this video, please like this video down below, subscribe to this channel for more photography things and art things, and I hope to see you guys in a future video. Thanks for watching. Peace.